Hi guys, it's Ebird Online and I'm here with a review from this week's 90 Day Fiance, Don't Forget Your Past, and this is Season 7, Episode 4. And today I'm going to be talking about Tania and Syngin. So guys, I didn't review these two last week as they were so uninteresting, and to be fair, Tania works my last nerve. But I'm going to run over what happened last week and then get into the nitty gritty of what happened this week with this couple. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to like the video. Follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. I'm now nearing 15,000 subscribers, so help to push me over that mark, and I'll be eternally grateful. And so last week, we catch up with Tania and Syngin in bed. She tells production she's really happy to have Syngin finally by her side, and she enjoys cuddling him and playing with his armpit hair. But she also tells them that he's codependent and that he always wants her attention. She said he's always seeking a kiss. That, Tania, is because he's trying to get your attention from Frick and Frack, who have been with you every step of the way thus far. And Syngin explains that he just wants her attention because he's seeking a kiss, and I find that quite cute. But he says he wants more alone time with her, and then she tells him that her friends are more important than him, and they've been there for her for the last 14 years, and they'll be there for 14 years after him. Syngin quite simply said, "That wasn't the response I was looking for." And I think, considering he's just moved continents for you, Tania, it was quite a mean and unsettling thing to say to somebody. And so they go to meet again with Frick and Frack, Tanya's two little friends, and they sit down to have something to eat. Frick and Frack say, "Are you sick of us yet?" "Yes, I am, girls." "Oh, sorry, you're asking Syngin. I think he is too." And then they start the questions. They said to him, "What do you want to do here?" He said, "Maybe a bit of bartending. Perhaps I'd like to be a fireman. I also want to go to Hollywood and do auditions. And I want to try my hand at singing opera. I'd like to be an astronaut and fly to the moon. Or maybe I can be a magician, a stunt performer, a beer chaser, president, an arms dealer, a concert promoter, a wine taster. Or maybe I want to be a train driver." "Oh, the opportunities are endless," said Syngin. And although it was none of their business, unsurprisingly, Frick and Frack had lots to say about this, and they told Syngin that he needs to pick a lane. And Syngin explained he hadn't found his passion yet, and he was waiting for it to take him. And they said, "Well, Tanya's really driven and really passionate." And Syngin said, "That's part of the reason why I love her." And then Frick and Frack tell production that Tanya's a go-getter. Really? Who are we comparing her to, Frick and Frack? She's living in a shed in a mother's backyard, and the last time I looked, she was a bartender. I'm really not so sure about that. And then talk turns to children. Frick and Frack ask again, "Do you want kids?" And Syngin said, "Well, I don't have that much experience with kids, but Tania and I have a 3-year timeline." And Tania then informed him that in 3 years she wanted 2 kids. And she also told us that Syngin originally said he wanted kids in maybe 7 to 10 years. And Syngin said he'd never heard about the second child, but later on things took a turn for the worse, because Syngin told production that he's not 100% sure he even wants kids. He knows it can be a lot of work, and he knows that Tania wants to travel, but Tania says she couldn't be with someone who doesn't want to have kids. She literally lives to have kids. And later on that day, Tania takes Syngin to a steakhouse, and they revisit the same topic. Syngin said he was looking forward to spending time alone with Tania, but she asked him straight away, "When do you want kids?" And he said he's still figuring out what he wants to do with his life, and he can't decide just like that. And she said, "Well, ask me. I can. I know I want a kid." And he said, "But how can you travel across America and buy land and do all the things that you want to do with a child on your hip?" And Tania decided to turn this into a feminist issue, and she said no man would ever be asked that question. "Yes, they would, Tania. I asked just last week why Sasha was gallivanting off to America without his children. So yes, they would." And she said anything's achievable, anything's possible. Make a list of what you want and you try to work towards it. You shoot for the stars and you land on the moon. I'll remember this phrase for later, Tania. And she tells Syngin, "If we don't have kids together, I'll just find a sperm donor." And Syngin said, "It almost feels as if you wrote this story and I'm just a character in it." And she says, "Well, this is my vision. This is the life I've got all planned out. If you want to come with me, great. If not, then fair enough." And Syngin said, "I just like to go with the flow. Let the universe do to me what it wants." But I can tell that Syngin is more than happy to split up with Tania over this issue, and I just don't think he's going to be pushed into saying, "Yes, I want kids, and yes, I want to start a family with you," before he's gotten to know her and before he's actually considered it fully. So the next time we meet up with Tania and Syngin, they're leaving the luxury of the hotel for the summer house, or as she calls it, the shed in her mum's backyard. So they get in the car and they're chit-chatting about this shed, and it becomes clear that Tania has told Syngin that it's all finished and completely ready to move into, when in fact there's lots and lots of work to do to it. So during this journey, Tanya's fully aware that Syngin going to be in for a rude awakening as soon as he gets home. But strangely, that doesn't seem to worry her, and they start the drive to Colchester. That's in Connecticut. Tania, I thought you lived in New York. Having done so myself for a short period, I realised how high rents are, and that's why I thought you were having to live in your mum's backyard. If I'd have known you were living in Connecticut, I would have started looking at you sideways a lot sooner, because you can easily afford to rent an apartment. And for one with such a high opinion of herself, Tania really isn't great at this game we call life. I've never been to Colchester. Maybe it's near the Hamptons. Last time I was there, the house prices made my eyes literally bleed. Maybe that's the problem. So Ebird took the opportunity to check out the rents in Colchester, Connecticut. And after 2 arduous minutes of searching, I found a lovely 1-bed for just $750 a month. So either 1, Tanya's put no effort into finding a property, 2, Tania has no visible means of support, or 3, Tania just wants to be near mum and doesn't want to let go of her coattails. But I think you can agree with me, this apartment is just fine. Fair enough, it's only 1 bed, but it's a starter apartment. And I think if you're moving somebody halfway across the world, it kind of makes sense that they're going to feel comfortable in that space. And honestly, I think it's going to be really weird for Syngin living in the shed in the backyard when Tanya's out at work, just kind of sitting around on his own. Tania says she hasn't managed to finish the shed for a very specific reason. She tells us she has lots of plans, but she procrastinates a lot, and that's why nothing gets done. Tania, from someone who just a few days ago was begging for a baby and wanting to buy a van and buy land and travel around America, that description of yourself doesn't bode well. And when they finally arrive at Tanya's mum's house, they walk into the backyard and look at the shed, and it's an absolute bomb site. There's clothes strewn everywhere, there's old boxes, there's units, everything's a bit dirty. It's basically nowhere near ready to live in, although I did manage to notice Tania had set up a sex table in the far corner, so that's sorted out. Don't worry, Syngin. First things first. Is this what shooting for the stars and landing on the moon looks like? And where's the list that you made and tried to work towards? It seems to me you didn't work very hard. And when Syngin said, there's a lot of work to do in here, it's a project, Tania just looked at him and said, well, do you know what, there's work to do, but suck it up. Most people, Tania, would make some sort of apology at this point. So she basically just lied flat out to Syngin, and then she said to him, chop chop, it's got to be up and running in a couple of days. And Syngin's right, there is a lot of work. And Tania, you're a piece of work. Syngin tells the producers, it's a daunting task and I'm feeling very overwhelmed. And he tells Tania, let's sleep on the couch this evening and then we'll tackle everything in the morning. And Tania looks at him and says, I could have done an all-nighter and get this whole thing pulled together. Tania, stop lying. You couldn't pull an all-nighter at all because you've had at least 3 to 6 months whilst the paperwork was going through for your visa to do all of this, and you haven't done any of it. So why try and pretend now that at this 11th hour, when it looks an absolute crap hole, that you're the one willing to work and it's Syngin who isn't? Syngin needs a little moment to collect his thoughts. He's in shock. There's shanty towns in Cape Town that are more put together than this place. And whilst I understand that maybe there's certain things she couldn't do or might have found it difficult, the least she could have done is put the bed straight, made the bed, made sure there weren't clothes strewn all over the place, made sure it wasn't full of boxes and tools. If she'd have brought her 2 little friends over and said, guys, let's get a bottle of Prosecco and a few nibbles and let's just get to work, if they'd have all put in 4 or 5 hours of work, this could have been at least halfway decent for when Syngin turned up. And honestly, I'm gobsmacked. I actually think it's really disrespectful. Tania counters Syngin's arguments, saying, I did all the paperwork and I paid for it all. So what, Tania? You're the one who wanted him over in America and he paid for his ticket. Just because you agreed to pay and fill in the paperwork doesn't mean you can go to sleep on sorting out the shed, ready for his arrival. And it shows to me that Tania has all her priorities wrong. She was late to the airport because she was busy putting on her makeup and trying on different dresses from the noughties, putting down rose petals, and even just the point of paying for a hotel for like 4 nights in New York. It was a really nice thing to do, but if you don't have enough money to live somewhere, it's kind of a waste of money. You would have been better off putting that money towards a deposit on the little apartment that I've managed to find you. So the next time we catch up with Tania and Syngin, it's the following morning. Syngin's laying on the sofa and Tania's saying to Syngin, quick, get up, come on. We've got a lot of work to do, and I can tell she's going to spend the day being a bossy biatch. She tells us her mum's a union carpenter and works 12-hour shifts, and when her mum gets back, she wants to have everything ready for them to move into the shed. And Syngin is daunted all over again, and he says it's a full DIY project. This is real. And Tania says, yay, it's our first project. Tania, that's not helping. And then in yet another moment of unparalleled self-delusion, Tania tells the producers, I think that our marriage will work and we'll be really happy. That's because we communicate really well. I tell Syngin what to do and he does it. And then she demonstrates this by telling him what to do during every single task in the summer house. She stands over him as he's using a drill, telling him what to do first and saying, oh, it's not going to work and this is going to fall over. It's my mum's shed. It's my mum's wall. In my mum's house. Tania, we know. He had to explain to her exactly what he was doing with every single task. Tania is extremely controlling. Syngin tells producers, we have 90 days to decide if we're going to get married and to work things out. But he's very worried about the relationship at the moment because Tania nicks at him all the time and she doesn't trust him. And he tells Tania this later and he says, this is only a tiny project. It doesn't seem like I can work with you because I think everything I do, you're going to find a problem with. You don't trust me or trust my judgment. And Tania stands up for herself by saying, well, how many times have you hurt yourself? And because it's my mum's shed and my mum's cabinet and my mum's house, I need to be able to tell you what to do. Tania is never ever wrong. She's one of those girls that thinks if she speaks it, it therefore becomes true. She never backs down on anything, even when there's incontrovertible evidence to the contrary. Even the Ebird can accept when she's wrong. And I remember a time back in 1999 when I was wrong. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the last time, but you know what, Tania? It happens to us all. And Syngin tells production that he finds Tania controlling, and Ebird finds Tania annoying, very annoying, ridiculously so in fact. And I wonder to myself, where did TLC find these people from? The local psychiatric ward? And when they're talking to production, Syngin tells Tania to just back off a little bit and let him do what he knows how to do. And when he says back off, Tania cuts her eye at Syngin and gives him a death stare. And Tania finishes up by telling us that Syngin's very rash and that he doesn't think what he's saying and doing before acting. And Syngin counters that he needs Tania to relax on him a little bit, and he said, if it's not your way, it's okay. And so guys, I want your opinions on what you make of all of this. I think that Tania is such a bug to Syngin, and I think that he's so go with the flow and she's so let's map every little thing out, that I don't think they're a match in any meaningful way, shape or form. I think Tania sees what she wants to see sometimes, and so earlier when Syngin said, how can we travel around America with a baby, Tania immediately leapt on it and said, that's sexist, a man would never be asked that question. And so I think she just read that into the situation. Similarly, she insinuated when the programme first started that I'm the first brown person that Syngin's got together with, so he might have to unlearn some of his ways, and there was the insinuation there that he was in some way racist, and we haven't seen this as yet. Maybe it's going to pop out later in the series, but truthfully I'm beginning to doubt it. And then Tania says, I plan everything meticulously, I make long lists, and then I work towards them, and I shoot for the stars, and I get to the moon. Well, the back far to the moon, Tania. Thus far, your mum's backyard is as far as you've got. You say that you're uber organised, but your backyard and the whole of the shed is an absolute tip. And I honestly don't believe anybody that has any level of organisation would bring any visitor to such a mess. So I have a feeling with Tania that it's do as I say and not as I do. And in Tania, I see a vexatious and obdurate little brat. Maybe there's a nice side to her, which I'm yet to see. Maybe she's had a bad edit. But one thing's for sure, she certainly believes everything she says is correct. And when Syngin is living in captivity in Tania's shed, he's bound to start considering his relationship, and he'll doubtless draw the conclusion that starting a family with Tania will lead to a lifetime of regret and disappointment, and a lifetime of torment and misery. Any child they had would be half his and half Tania's. He's already got a whole one of Tania, and is not entirely sure he wants that. So why would he want to acquire another 50% of Tania? And if nature takes a perverse turn, that figure could skyrocket to 80 or 90%. If nature conspires against Syngin, he could end up with almost 2 times Tania. Oh Syngin, consider that prospect at your leisure. guys, tell me what you think. Am I being too harsh? But to me, Tania's a grade A ball ache. And so let me know in comments below, what do you think? And that's everything for my review of Tania and Syngin for the past couple of weeks. Tomorrow I'll hit you guys with another review, and to make sure that you don't miss it, press the subscribe button now. All you need to do is click that little red button and your future will be bright. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much, a massive thank you to everybody that's already subscribed to my channel, and it's going really well. And please don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.